is Kim with Geauga Firearms Academy. Today we're going to talk about shooting low and left. It's something we see all the time. We make jokes. You can go to the range and you can almost go righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty. And we're going to talk about why that happens. Why do most people shoot low left if they're right-handed and low right if they're left-handed?
You've probably heard a lot of instructors talking about differences in grip pressures and percentages, and I think one thing that we've all come to a pretty solid conclusion in the firearms training community is that percentages are nonsense. Nobody knows what 20 or 35 or 45. That's kind of silly. What we want to do is kind of look at what is fundamentally what is the basics of this grip. And I'll show you live fire here in just a second, but people's perception of how hard they have to hold the gun is kind of out of tune. And when I say that, I'm talking about independent of each hand. So when we're talking about a right-handed shooter, the right hand has to have its dexterity, it has to be able to hold the gun, and nowhere near as hard as you think it does. And then your support hand, which is simply that, a support. It doesn't have any fine motor skill. It's basically creating a rigid structure for which the gun can rest in. When we put these together and we do it properly, we're going to be able to achieve the result we want, which are accurate shots, whether it's right out of the holster as fast as possible or we're taking our time for great marksmanship. So let's take a closer look at this. What I'm going to show you next is what I said just a few seconds ago about how much grip you actually need from your shooting hand. So I'm going to demonstrate this, hopefully in a manner that'll make sense to you guys, about how much I actually need in order to just safely keep the gun secured. This is going to be an example. What I'm going to use is 2 fingers. Don't do this at home. We're in a closed range. It's mine. There's no one around, etc., etc. I'm going to use 2 fingers, okay, to shoot this gun, and only 2 fingers. And the purpose for this is to show you how little I need to secure the actual firearm itself. Secure meaning not fly off or throw out of my hand or something crazy. So I have a safe backstop here. All I'm using here, I have my thumb here, my finger here, and I'm just kind of balancing the gun. So I'm going to fire 1 round into this backstop. Okay, here we go. And as you can see, the gun is still here. Again, pretty much 2 fingers holding the gun. It didn't fly out of my hand. I can't see what you guys saw, but I'll care to bet the gun didn't do something crazy and move all over. And all I was basically doing was pressing this trigger with 2 fingers, and generally the weight of the gun. So when we think about having to take this shooting hand and really grip it, and more importantly, really grip it at the wrong time, meaning that before I actually press the trigger, I greatly increase that grip pressure. That's one of the ways that we develop that far left shot. For me, as an instructor, letting you guys understand the why is really important. The why meaning why something is happening and why we're doing something. I'm going to set this clean target up on a typical target that you'd probably see if you're a right-handed shooter. So let's get this going here. This is going to be a typical target that you would see, or that we would see on class as a right-handed shooter. Let's go take a look. Probably something you've seen here. So we have a string of shots, and eventually they start working themselves to the left and down as a right-handed shooter. What we want to focus on today is that left, why we keep getting that left deal. So as I said earlier, when we set up our proper grip, we want to be able to secure the gun in a manner where, 1, gravity is defeated. It's not falling out of my hand. It's not going to go flying out. I've already showed you with 2 fingers, this gun's not going to go anywhere. So clearly, getting my full grip on there, I'm not going to have any issues there. The gun is going to stay right where I need it to be. I would assimilate this to shaking the hand of a small child or an elderly person. Good enough. We don't need to worry about percentages. This hand, however, the support hand, in my case, my left hand, this is one of the things that's going to greatly improve this left. And obviously, if we were a left-handed shooter, it would be the right, okay? And that is that this has no fine motor skill. This is driving out and it's creating a solid structure. I'm going to grip this as firmly as I can without getting the shakes. But even if we do those two things, if you have a consistent grip pressure here that's fairly gentle, we'll use that word, gentle, and then you increase it right before you shoot, it doesn't matter. Nothing will ever fix that problem. We need to be consistent with the amount of pressure. What I'm trying to say here is, if you were to put a pressure device on here that would be able to monitor the amount of pressure I have here, it would read the same here as it would here, as it would here, as it would here. The grip pressure never changed. I never increased it. What a lot of you guys are going to be doing, and I'll show it this way so you can see, is right before that critical time, when I actually press the trigger straight to the rear, instead of doing it like this, where I'm pressing the trigger straight to the rear and not increasing anything, you guys do this. See how the gun wags to the left, if you will, right? So as far as windage is concerned, I'm driving the gun over to the left. And if I was a left-handed shooter, I do the same thing with my left hand, which is drive it to the right. So the point is, I gotta be consistent. If I'm able to press the trigger all the way through to the wall, to the brake, reset the whole 9 yards, without increasing the tension in my hand, then I'm not going to get that far left. Even if I have a little bit of that under stress or coming out of the holster, that will be mitigated by me using a strong, structural aligned support hand. So let's take a close look at that. When it comes to the grip, you've probably seen this many, many times, but essentially what I'm trying to do is open up as much of this as I can. So I make sure that my thumb stays up, not down and not curled, all the way up. And then I'm going to take my support hand here, and if I have my thumb up like thumbs up, I want to take that thumb now and I want to drive it forward so that I'm in line with the target. Ultimately, what that's going to do is that's going to create this structural alignment. In a lot of classes, I'll have a student come up, they'll put their thumb up here, I'll press back at it, and you'll see their forearm tense as they're trying to resist me, right? And then I'll put their thumb forward and I'll do the same thing and I'll press into it, and they're not using any forearm strength because it's structural alignment, okay? Same concept here. My thumb comes up, I bring my thumb forward, and then I meet my hands together. The other issue I see a lot of times in classes is that people bring their support hand way forward and they create a gap in here. I want these to be together, okay? Like, I can't even get a piece of paper in there. I'm high up on the pistol, basic fundamental there. My thumbs come together, and you can see that my wrist is forward. My support hand in this case, my left hand, is firm. I'm not shaking, but I am really bearing down on that. You'll notice that in a string of fire, if you're doing this a lot, you go and you shoot, and then you'll see somebody, or have somebody watch you, put a camera up. If every time you shoot, you do this, you move your hand around, we're not getting enough pressure from that left hand. I'll show you what that looks like. So go to the range with your friend, whoever, and have them watch you. If you don't have any friends, make some at the range. Set a video camera up, whatever the case is. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. But this is what adjusting your grip looks like after shots. So I come out, I shoot. So if you see that constant movement, that's telling us that I'm not getting consistent grip. What it should look like, whether I go fast or slow, is that my grip, notice my hands have never moved. My left hand made no adjustments whatsoever. In fact, if I really do this correctly, I should be able to take my support hand, grip the gun, take my firing hand off. So even though it's a reverse grip, I want you to watch. Get real close, I want you to see that. You can look on the gun where my hand is. When I rack this gun, it does not move. It's in the exact same spot it started in. That's how much pressure and how much grip I have on my support hand, okay? That's where I'm going to get that nice alignment and get that low left, or at least the left part, out of the equation. I'm going to specifically address the low in another video. I think that'll be better. Kind of take this in little bite-sized pieces. That said, just the fact that we're not changing the tension, here's a little pro tip of what's coming, not by simply being consistent with that support hand and your shooting hand, okay? By not over gripping right at the critical point of shooting, you're going to be surprised that that low might suddenly go away, or at least be mitigated quite a bit more than it's ever been for you before. We want to be consistent the entire time. That is the key to this whole deal. I don't want to increase at that critical moment. The trigger's about to break and then I increase that. There's no way to keep that consistent and smooth. So now we're going to look at putting these all together, how we're going to change this result. Now we're going to put this together. Here's our old target. We'll slap this right on top. And I'm going to walk through. I'm going to take a bunch of shots here. We won't cut the film or any of that stuff so you can see the results and how it's going to work. I'm going to talk to you on a couple points that are going to be important here. We're going to be about 6-7 yards away. Not that it really matters. But here's the deal. Get my shooting hand nice and high. Everything's good there. I'm going to be consistent. It's going to be a gentle grip, nothing crazy. I'm going to place I'm going to get my bone alignment first so that my thumb is going to be pointed towards the target when I go to drive this gun out, okay? I'm filling in that gap. My thumb is up out of the way. Everything looks good. I'm very happy with this. And now we're going to come out here. So now that I have this, I want you guys to pay attention as I shoot. You will not see any weird adjustment. I'm simply going to press the trigger straight to the rear. You're going to notice that that my hands have not moved from the moment that I shot. I'm not changing my pressure. My pressure on my right hand is the same as it is now, okay? So without cutting any weird edits or anything, let's go see how we did. For me personally, I had what I would call a flyer for me. That's an unacceptable amount of the ring, but nonetheless, here we are. I'm a human being. This is the result of where we were back here moving the hand, where we're increasing the whole time, and my shooting hand is not relaxed. It's tense or tight, or especially at the critical point. And my strong hand now is super locked on, super solid, and creating the structure that I'm ultimately looking for. I need to keep that gun nice and steady with this hand because it's got no fine motor skill, and yet this one is able to press the trigger straight to the rear without any movement in the gun.
Another point to bring up is when you're considering which handgun to purchase is you need to make sure it fits well in your hand, because if it doesn't fit well, you're not going to have that perfect grip. So for example, this PDP Pro, even though I love it, it's amazing, it is right on the cusp of being a little too big for me, where I almost can't get my perfect grip, and sometimes I do have to move around a little bit. So let's look at that with a smaller hand. When you have smaller hands, the distance you're looking for is the distance from the back strap to the trigger face. So I want to make sure that I can get a good grip on here. I want to be nice and high. I want to reach that trigger, and you can see how I can reach it, but I don't get quite enough of my finger pad on there. And if you notice, as I'm doing that, I sometimes start moving the knuckle of my thumb more in the middle versus being nice and on the side of the gun. It starts to have to move this way so I can reach that trigger better.
Hopefully that's helpful. We'll do another one on kind of preventing that low. But I'm telling you right now, if you guys really focus on keeping that consistency with the grip pressure, it's going to be a huge deal. Add in a little bit stronger support hand, and you're going to be shocked at what you get in results.
Next time your friend says, I'm shooting low and left, I think I need to adjust my sights, tell them that's not correct and send them this video. We hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, a like, a share, a comment. We always love to hear from you guys. You can find us here on YouTube. You can click the bell to get notified every time we put a video out. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Rumble, and we put all of our premium content on Patreon. Until next time, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.